The Girl Who Can, Class 10, Ama Ata Aidoo, the writer, a Ghanaian writer. She was the Minister of Education of Ghana also. So the story is about a 7-year-old girl, and the protagonist is the narrator herself. They say that I was born in Hasodzee, and it is very big village in the central region of our country, Ghana. So she was born, the little girl was born in a fertile village, a big village in Ghana. They means mama and nana, means the girl's mother and grandma. They also say that when all of Africa is not choking under a drought, Hasodzee lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. So Hasodzee was an exception to the somewhat dry areas, drought-prone areas of Ghana, and there because the soil was fertile at that place. And maybe that is why anytime I don't finish eating my food, Nana says, "You are doja, ajoa. You don't know what life is about. You don't know what problems are there in this life." So whenever she doesn't finish her lunch or dinner, she has to get scolded by her nana, by her grandma, that since you are born in a fertile place, you don't give importance to your diet, you don't finish up to the utmost, you leave uneaten, and that they don't like. As far as I could see, there was only one problem, and it had nothing to do with what I knew Nana considered as problems or what Mammy thinks of as the problem. So she says that she knew that there is a problem, but that problem is not what Nana and Mama thinks the problem is. Mommy is my mother, Nana is my mother's mother. And they say I'm 7 years old also. And my problem is that at this 7 years of age, there are things I can think in my head, but which maybe I do not have the proper language. So she is good enough to think many things, but she doesn't have the words to speak them out. And that, according to the girl, is a very serious problem, because it is always difficult she can't decide whether to keep what kind of legs. And always at that point, I knew from her voice that my mother was weeping inside. She got very much hurt, Nana never heard such inside weeping. No, she felt so bad. She started, within her heart she was weeping. Not that it would have stopped Nana even if she had heard it, which always surprised me. Because about almost everything else apart from my legs, Nana is such a good grown-up. Everything ke baare mein she is so tolerable. But I don't know what is the problem with my legs. In any case, what do I know about good grown-ups and bad grown-ups? I don't have any idea. But she is my favorite, so I think she's a good grown-up. How could Nana be a good grown-up when she carried on so much about her legs? I'm not sure also if she's a good grown-up, because she's always, criticizing against my legs. Nana, as I keep saying, if any woman decides to come into this world with all of her 2 legs, then she should select legs that are meant, that would mate on them, with good calves, hona chahiye. Because you are sure such legs would support, because if legs are good, they would support solid hips, and a woman must have solid hips so that she could be able to bear the children. That's her main problem, main issue. Oh mother, that's how my mother would answer. My mother would say in that very, very quietly, "Oh mother, please." And the discussion would end, or they would move on to something else. Sometimes Nana would pull in something about my father also. That is the next issue. The first issue was a leg, and the next issue was her father. Oof. Looking at such a man, we have to be humble and admit that after all, God's children are many. How after one's only daughter had insisted on marrying a man like that, you still have to thank your God that the biggest problem you got later was having a granddaughter with spindly legs that are too long for a woman and too thin to be of any use. Oof, your husband. That is my ill luck, that you have chosen such a man that later on you have given birth to a girl with so spindly legs and that too thin for any good use. So now she's talking about her legs. Like all this business to do with my legs. I've always wanted to tell them not to worry about my legs. I mean my Nana and my mother. That it did not have to be an issue of my two favorite people to fight upon. But I didn't want either to be told. And I also at the same time I didn't want them that they would tell me I don't repeat about it, or they would laugh and they would discuss the matter with the others till tears came to their eyes laughing. No, not that, because they were after all my legs. And whenever, I think that from the day when I was born, my Nana and Mama must be talking about my legs, because whenever I came out from the world of silence, that is when I was in the womb of my mother, and I came out to the world full of noises, the first topic which I could comprehend from these two of my favorite ladies was that about my legs. And this existence of the two worlds is a juxtaposition. And that discussion was repeated very repeatedly. Nana would say to my mom, Kaya, I thank my God that your very first child is a female one, but at the same time I'm not sure about her legs, And Nana would shake her head, and Mommy would say, Mother, why are you always complaining about Ajwa's legs? If you ask me, they're too thin, and I'm not asking you. Nana has many voices, There's a special one which when she uses that, everyone has to shut up. Some people have no legs at all, my mother would say, but at least she has her legs though. But Ajwa has legs, Nana would insist, except that they are too thin and too long for a woman. Kaya, listen to me. Once in a while, but only once in a very long while, somebody decides, nature or a child's spirit mother, an accident happens and some bodies get born without arms or legs or both sets of limbs here, so kisi ka nahi hai. And then let me touch wood, Baba, that is a very sad business. And such things are not for talking about. We should not talk about all those situations. Lekin if a female child decides to come into this world with legs, then they might as well be legs. Whenever Ajwa wants to say something, first she has to think if she will be laughed at or not. It is not easy to get any grown-up to listen to a young one. Even when you decide to take the risk and say something serious, they won't take it seriously. This is the matter. Take Nana. First I have to struggle to catch her attention. Then I'll tell her something which for the long time my thought process has deduced it. And then what always happens? She would once stop whatever she is doing and mouth open she would stare at me for a very long time. Then bending and turning her head slightly so that one ear comes down towards me, she will say, Ajwa, you say what? Even if I have repeated whatever I had said, she would either still, no, never, but never to repeat that, she would say. Or she might have another reaction. She would immediately burst out laughing. and she would laugh and laugh until tears rolled down her eyes, and she would stop whatever she is doing and wipe away her tears with the hanging edges of her cloth, and she would continue laughing until she is completely tired. But then, whenever any person comes by, she would again discuss this matter to her. And then, of course, there would be two old people laughing, and then the both will be laughing and screaming with tears running down their faces. Sometimes this show continues until there are 3, 4, or even more than that people laughing and screaming, tear-fest grown-ups and all. And all that performance, whatever I had said, I find something quite confusing in all this. That is, no one ever explains to me why are they all laughing, why I shouldn't repeat some things. They don't give me any answer to that, the reasoning to that. While at other times, some other things I say, what would only be all right, but would be considered, why is it so funny, I can't even know. They would be repeated so many times for so many people's enjoyment. You see how neither way of hearing me out can encourage. So both of them, both these ways cannot encourage me to express my thoughts so often. So I cannot express my thoughts. So she won the cup, and the Nana was so proud of it. She carried the gleaming cup on her back. Hai khule rakho, like they do with the babies and other very precious things. Yes. When we arrived in our village, she entered our compound mein aaya to show the cup to my mother. The mother didn't accompany them. Before going to give it back to she showed it to the mother and then gave it back to the headmaster. Oh, grown-ups are so strange. Nana is right now carrying me. She carried me on her knee, crying softly, muttering, and the sad, thin legs how can these thin legs be so useful? She couldn't even think. That even though some legs don't have much meat on them to carry hips, they can run. Maybe she thought that it didn't have that much flesh to support the hips, but how could she run? I don't know too much about such things, but that's how I was feeling and thinking all along. That surely one should be able to do other things with legs as well as have them, because they can support hips that way. Maybe instead of making babies, the legs are of some more uses than doing that thing, supporting the hips and all. Except that I was afraid of saying that, so, but I couldn't say those things aloud in front of Nana, because someone would have told me never, never, but never to repeat such words. She has already told them. Or else they would have laughed, or they would have laughed so much that they would have cried. It's much better this way, to have acted it out to show them. So she got the idea that instead of talking to them, retorting back to them, just show them something so that their mouth will be shut automatically. So to have acted it. As for my mother, she has been speechless as usual. They didn't agree. Is that so? Exclaimed my mother. I know her. Her mouth moved as though she was going to tell Nana that after all there was a secret about me she couldn't be expected to share with anyone. But then Nana herself looked so pleased. So Mama was also very pleased that, oh, at last my daughter, to dekho, you said so many things about her legs and now they have chosen her to run. But Nana looked so pleased out of surprise that my mother shut her mouth. कुछ वो नहीं किया, contradict नहीं किया. In any case, since the first time they heard the news, I have often caught Nana staring at my legs with a strange look on her. And whenever she looked at me, she looked at my legs with a strange attitude. All this week she has been washing my school uniform herself, because the girl has got to participate in the school sports. That is a big surprise, and she didn't stop at that. She even went to Mr. Mensah's house and borrowed his charcoal pressing. एक जन से जाके charcoal press तब तो चारकोल से बनता था, अभी भी हम लोग का यहाँ तो चारकोल से ही आयरनिंग होता है। जाई हो, इलेक्ट्रिक आयरन तो घर में हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं। इफ इट हैड बीन एन यूनिफॉर्म, I would have said aloud that I had had enough. And she ironed my uniform, and then I said, Arey, it's enough, you don't have to do that. But she always did it. Wearing my school uniform this week has been very nice because they are properly ironed, they are properly washed. At the parade, the first afternoon, it caught the rays of the sun and shone brighter than anyone else's uniform. Nana saw that too and must have liked it. She had been coming into town with us every afternoon of this district sports week. Every afternoon she also used to accompany us. Each afternoon she has pulled one set of fresh old clothes from the big brass bowl to wear. Every day she got new dresses for me to wear. And those old clothes are always so stiff and they are stiffly starched. You can hear the clothes creaking sound also. Khash khash karta rehta hai if we go past by. But it looked grandeur. With respect to the other children, it looked so white and properly well ironed and all. She looked well dressed. So I won every race I ran for my school, and she used to win each and every race. Nana said that she didn't care if such things are not done. She would do it. And I won the cup and for the best all-round junior athlete. You know what she did? She carried the gleaming cup on her back. She used to carry it on her back. She was so proud of me. But now, the girl who can. The next topic of discussion between the mama and Nana was her school. School is another thing Nana and my mother discussed often and appeared to have different ideas. Both the Nana and Mama had different ideas. Nana thought it would be a waste of time to go to school. I never understand what she meant. My mother seemed to know and she disagreed. Bola aisa kaise? She kept telling Nana that that is my mother, felt she was locked into some kind of darkness because she told her mama that you haven't sent me to school, that's why even if I have eyes, still it appears dark. My entire environment appears dark to me because I haven't gone to school. I don't know how to read and write. So that if I, her daughter, could learn to read and write my own name and a little besides, perhaps be able to calculate some things on paper, that would be very good. She wanted, obviously, that her child should go to school so that she could sign her name and do some mental calculations, some mathematical add, less and all, so that it would be good for them. I could always marry later. Marriage to hota rahega, and maybe Nana would just laugh. Maybe with that legs like hers, she might as well go to school. Bola, aisa to leg hai. How will her legs carry her to school? Because they would have to go by walking. Running with our classmates on our small sports field and winning first place each time never seemed to me to be anything about which to tell anyone at home. But whenever she ran in the small fields of theirs, she always stood first, but she never talked about it to her parents. This time it was different. I don't know how the teachers decided to let me run for the junior section of our school in the district games. But how it happened, because she thought that my legs won't permit me, but her teachers thought that it would be right for her to take part in the district games junior section where she was chosen. When I went home to tell my mama and Nana, they had not believed it. But I say, how can it be? So Nana had taken it upon herself to go and ask into it properly. Well, I'll go to the teacher and I'll ask properly what is it about. She came home to tell my mother that it was really true. And it was one of my school's runners. I was one of my school's runners. Oh, she is going to be a runner. They didn't, the girl who can, part 5. The way she always added, she is talking about her Nana. she added a bit about my father under her breath. She probably thought I didn't hear it. But being a young girl, also so little girl, whenever there was something said about her father, she always kept her attention open. But I always heard it. Please, that is what always shut my mother up for good. And then my mother couldn't carry on the conversation against my Nana. Because whenever Nana thought that she was getting vanquished, she would take up the of her father, take up the words of her father. But I always heard it. Plus, that is what always shut my mother. So that even if I had not topic of my father, I always shut my father up for good. So that even if I had not actually heard the words, once my mother looked like even her little courage was finished, I could always guess that Nana had added to the argument. Even if I couldn't hear what the words were, but from looking into the expression of my mother, I could understand that something grave has been said by my Nana, who wanted to carry on the argument, and that might have stopped made my mother numb. Legs that are meant on them with good calves to support solid hips to be able to have children. She thought so wildly. First, your legs should be good enough and there should be good calves so that they could support solid hips. And if your hips are solid, she thought that then you would be able to bear children. So I wish that one day I would see for myself the legs of any woman who had children. How are the legs of the women who have got children? But in our village it is not easy. Kaise utha ke you can see the legs. The older women wear long wraparounds. Perhaps if they let me go bathe in the river in the evening, I could have checked. If I could have I could have gone to the pond in the evening, then all the women are taking their bath, then I might have seen them. But I never had the chance of going alone to the pond. It took a lot of begging just to get my mother and Nana to let me go splash around in the shallow end of the river with my friends. Then again they allowed. She said, please, one day I want to swim, I want to splash around in the little river nearby. And after many arguments, at last she got the opportunity. We use the small bathhouse behind our hut. Therefore, the only naked female legs I have ever really seen are those of other little girls. So whenever I used to play, I could see the girls who are of my age. I could see their naked legs. But the naked legs of women who had already had children, I have never. Or older girls also in the school. And those of my mother and Nana, I have seen. 2 pairs of legs which must surely belong to the approved kind. Because Nana gave birth to my mother and my mother gave birth to me. So she thought logically that these 2 women must have got good legs. All my friends have got legs that look like legs, but whether the legs are legs have got meat on them to support the kind of hips, that I don't know. According to the older boys and girls, the distance between our little village and the small town is only 5 kilometers. Okay? I don't know what 5 kilometers meant. Have you finished? They always complain about how long it is to walk to. They always say, oh Baba, we have to go such a long place, such a long distance rather to reach our school. But to me, we live in our village and walking those kilometers, I see it didn't seem a great job to me. And I love the school. The school is nice.